All right, talking about the ministerial list, Executive Director of SERAP, Adetokunbo Mumuni, is here with us in the studio. Good morning, Mr. Mumuni.
Good morning.
So we had like 3 days of screening yesterday, last week, and there was, well, progress made with the number of ministers that were screened. Now another set beckons on us today. Your reactions to those that have, you know, been grilled, so to speak.
Let me say that substantial and effective progress will have been made, for instance, if the president, in nominating the ministers, had given portfolios to them. And the truth of the matter is that when you screen somebody, you must be screening him based on what he has been assigned to do. It is not enough to just be designated a minister. Whoever is given the Attorney General of the Federation, for example, will be queried on what he would like to do as a Minister of Justice, looking at the justice sector of Nigerian life. Whoever is given power, housing, and whatever should have been queried on what is ailing us.
And in this case, we can't even predict. If we are having an Abubakar Malami returning on the list, it's still not, you know, safe to predict that he's going to come back. And we also saw Mr. Keyamo being grilled in that wise also, if he were to become the AGF.
I think what we should start advocating for is that whoever the president is subsequently, whenever he wants to nominate people for ministerial position, he should try and attach a portfolio to a particular person so that people will have done their homework about the general atmosphere in that particular portfolio.
Is this more a requirement that only the Constitution can correct? Or is it something that, you know, just by norms, just by tradition, subsequent lists must be attached with portfolios?
No,
because we've seen the Senate, you know, dabble with, should we make this a constitutional matter? It didn't succeed at the last Senate.
You see, what is made constitutional will be taken serious. And probably there should be an amendment of the Constitution so that when the president nominates people, he will attach portfolios to their names. And the reason for that is very simple. We know the problem that we have in Nigeria. And we know people that can do this work better. If you are not given a Ministry of Health, what we have in the health sector, we'll query you on it. This is the present position in the health sector. What do you want to do as a minister for effective implementation of the health policy of government?
We've also heard Mr. Garba Shehu, the president's advisor on media affairs, now saying, okay, channel your complaints or grievances you have with the screening process already to your representatives in the Senate. Because the question is, it has been done. This time around, we have ministers with no portfolios. So right. So it has already been done. The harm has been done, so to speak. So what can the senators do? Can the people also drive the Senate, you know, to give Nigerians an idea of what these ministers can do?
The citizens are part of the government. They are entitled to speak and be heard, and effectively heard. So, but insofar as there is no constitutional requirement that when you nominate a minister, portfolio should be attached to his name.
Your final question would be whether you are impressed or not, yes or no?
No, for the type of questions that they have been put to, I believe that most of them speak very eloquently about what they intend to do. All
right. Mr. Adetokunbo Mumuni, thank you so much for your time.
It's a pleasure.
And joining me now is the Executive Director of SERAP, Adetokunbo Mumuni. It's nice to have you join me right now.
It's a pleasure.
Okay. You have been a very strong voice when it comes to some national issues. When it comes to this issue of screening of nominees, there has been no constitutional provision, so there's a freestyle approach to it. But if we compare ourselves to Britain, to other countries of the world, especially Britain, where we, borrowed our jurisdiction and so many other life of democracy from, we saw that the new Prime Minister of Britain, it didn't take him more than 48 hours to get his, his cabinet running and all of that. What do we have to learn from that window?
Thank you very much. It is already the way the president of Nigeria works. It's like nothing to him is urgent. That's what I have.
But is it just to this president, or it has been through the presidents in Nigeria?
No, if you are talking about nomination of ministers without portfolio, that is what we have been used to.
All right.
Well, what I say is that when you nominate ministers and you have assigned portfolios to them, what you give the legislators, the senators, is an avenue to query whoever will be eventually confirmed seriously about the job that he will do and the way he will do it. That to me is the best thing. And that to me brings more, when that opportunity makes itself available, it makes the senators do their research about the person and the job.
But is it likely that the president tried to avert some seeming political tensions if the ministerial nominees have their portfolios attached to them, especially when Nigerians see some ministries as juicy and when it comes to distribution? Do you see a scenario like that? Maybe that's what the president tried to avert, so that.
But whatever will happen, attaching portfolios to the names will serve us more than whatever.
But what would it change? What would it change really, if it's apart from just the process?
No. You see, putting every ministerial nominee that has been assigned a particular portfolio, in the proper perspective, taking him on things that is happening in that particular ministry, and asking him, this is the position that we have had this position all this while, what will you do differently as the minister for so-and-so? Right. That makes it a whole lot convenient and sensible.
All right. Thank you very much, Adetukumbo Mumuni, for